Now, if you're already struggling with your New Year's resolutions, don't give up. You might just need a different strategy. Today, we're joined by former Miss Ireland turned mindset expert, a rapid transformational therapist and mindset coach, Lynda Duffy, to discuss resolutions versus willpower. Very good morning to you, Lynda. Thanks for being with us.
Very good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And look, it is that time of year when people have set out their stall as to what they want to change about their life, be it, losing weight or eating better, smoking, getting to the gym more. But maybe quite a few have already, by the 8th of January, knocked those plans on the head, or they can see that they're already beginning to fail. So they're full of good intentions, but the resolutions don't last. Why do, though, Lynda, New Year plans so often fail?
Yeah, so I think what it comes down to is sometimes, first of all, we start the new year with the big hype of new year, new me, new changes, new lifestyle. And that automatically puts a lot of pressure on us to change so many things in our life. So we set out with too big of intentions almost. Well, if we break it down into kind of smaller, more manageable habits, we're more likely to achieve them. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is a lot of the time when people maybe want to manage their diet better, maybe they're emotional eaters, or maybe they're excessive drinkers, or maybe they smoke too much and they're trying to, give that habit up. They look at the symptom. I want to give up drinking. I want to give up smoking. I want to maybe give up binging or overeating. But the problem with that is you're not actually addressing what's at the core of that habit, because 9 times out of 10 with those behaviors, it's to do with our emotions, it's to do with our beliefs, it's to do with perhaps maybe past trauma. And that's what's fueling the actual action and behavior. So when people try to give up the drinking or the smoking or the emotional eating, and they might, on a good year, we might get to a month and then we'll kind of, go back into the old habits, the old cycle. We beat ourselves up over it because we think it's lack of willpower, lack of motivation. And that genuinely isn't the case. It's just that you haven't been addressing the underlying issues. And when you do that, you're addressing it from a subconscious level as opposed to a conscious level. So the conscious level is the willpower and the motivation, and the subconscious level is what holds all of your habits, your triggers, your emotions. So if you're not actually working with that, it's very hard sometimes to break the habit long term. And that's why people sometimes, beat themselves up. They think, I'm just not able. It's actually not that. You're very capable. You just might be approaching it in the wrong way.
Yeah, and you argue that willpower alone isn't enough. I mean, what do we get wrong about willpower?
It's not necessarily what we get wrong. Every single one of us has a level of willpower to varying degrees. But the first thing to go, like if you're in a situation where, you're trying to change a habit and, sometimes life takes over and we get busy and we get stressed and our sleep goes and, we maybe handle situations that we're not able to handle in a very healthy way. The first thing that's going to go is our willpower. Willpower is of the conscious mind. So it's not about, the strongest people, even with the healthiest willpower, are sometimes going to fail. So it's not about just relying on willpower and motivation. It's the deeper kind of, little habits that you can use. So that's why, if you just focus on, like I said at the start, if you just try and focus on smaller habits and integrate them into your daily or weekly routines, you're going to get much further along with achieving those goals than if you kind of decide, okay, I'm going to, stock my fridge with all the healthy foods and I'm going to not have anything in my home that's, sweet treats or anything like that. What happens with that typically is you're going to restrict. And everybody knows that if you're going to restrict at some point, you're going to crack and you'll want something. And while if you actually just manage your diet a bit better, I'm just using obviously diet as an example. If you manage your diet and kind of not completely, eliminate everything from your diet that's nice and that's tasty, then just integrate it a little bit. Right, that's more likely going to give you the bandwidth to be able to manage the diet or the long-term kind of healthy decisions, and to maintain them. You're going to have a better chance of doing that.
So it's about, because quite often people, when they make resolutions, it's a 180 turn for them if they're to achieve it, and that there might be too much of a mountain for them to climb. So rather than making big dramatic resolutions, start small, and small changes ultimately over the course of a year can add up to big changes.
Exactly. And even with the small habits, achievement from it. And motivation and confidence comes from believing in ourselves, essentially. So if you can set out small targets that are achievable and you manage them, that'll give you the motivation to keep going. And the motivation comes from taking action. So being proactive. And once you start being proactive and making those changes, the motivation and the confidence will come off the back of that. So, a lot of the time we'll wait for motivation to come knocking on our door. It certainly doesn't come knocking on my door when I want to get up and kind of maybe go for a walk or get motivated sometimes with, different areas of my life. The motivation comes from after I do it. So if I go out for a walk in the morning and I get my morning walk done, I feel much better after it, but I don't feel too good before it. So a lot of the time it's just being proactive, making the changes, no matter how small they are, just incorporate it as much as you can into your routine. So if that's maybe going to the gym the next day, well, maybe set out your gym clothes the night before. Maybe if you're trying to go to work and kind of manage, eating healthier meals at lunch, okay, well then, pre-plan and maybe bring something with you, have little snacks in your bag or bring them with you. If you're trying to maybe give up, maybe a drinking, well, sometimes that means making harder decisions, that maybe I'm not going to socialize as much. I'm not going to go to the pub. I'm not going to put myself in environments where I have to say no all the time. So it's all those little proactive changes that you choose to make are going to help you achieve what you want to achieve in the long run.
Many people listening, I'm sure, who have already given up on their New Year's resolution, Lynda, will feel guilty or disappointed with themselves. What would you say to someone who feels they've already failed? And is there a better time than the 1st of January to start making changes? We're tied into this tradition and the calendar of New Year's resolutions, but any time you decide to make a change, I guess, is surely a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can look. Anybody can reset as many times as they want and when they want. And we are sometimes stuck in this. We wait until Monday. Next Monday, I'll just go over the weekend and do all I need to do and eat whatever I want and drink whatever I want and smoke what I want until Monday, and then Monday is my cut-off point. But your Monday can be any day of the week, right? It can be a Tuesday, it can be a Thursday, it can be a Saturday. It really doesn't matter. It's just allowing yourself to reset, and you can get to reset as many times as you want, and just don't see it as a failure, because when we're trying to change habits, it's hard for a reason, because we're so used to having something that brings us maybe joy or comfort or provides something to us, that when we try to let that go and change that, it's never going to be fully easy, and it's never going to be linear. So just allow yourself to kind of have those resets. Don't be talking down to yourself. Don't see yourself as a failure. Most people, I suppose don't succeed in these things, from the get-go. We try and then we fail, and then it's how you respond to kind of, oh God, I messed up now already in the first week, and you can decide, do you know what, I'm just not capable, and maybe I'll start in February. Or you can say, do you know what, so what, I get to restart again, and maybe I'll do better the next time. So just try and not kind of reduce that self-talk and kind of the inner critic, because that's not going to help anyone. So just reset as many times as you need, and try not get into the habit of thinking like every Monday is my reset day, because you can reset whenever you want.
And timely advice, and I think a timely pick-me-up for some of the people out there who 8 days into the new year, probably their heads are already down a bit because whatever their resolution was, they're clearly failing at it, but don't be locked into that. Lynda, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again in 2026. Thank you for joining us with that great advice on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
That's Lynda Duffy, the rapid transformational therapist and mindset coach, with us on Morning Focus.